And I just loved your vibe, and I love how you are heart-centered. You can feel the love when you're talking to all the people, and how you help them transition their grief into like hope and joy, and no matter where they're at. Um, and also, I saw you on a live somewhere about mullein weed, and then I actually spoke to you about a herbologist who had talked to me about mullein.
But you know, to define myself into one little box, I guess, is a little hard in some sense. I would say, first of all, I am spirit having a human experience. Second, I would say what I'm most prideful of as being a teacher is I have an online course called Spirit Talker Tribe, and which entails sharing the wisdom that I have as a spirit talker. I'm also an author of a book titled "The Language of Spirit," and I have a show on APTN called Spirit Talker. And if you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's a great show. You can always check it out on aptnlumi.ca and watch. I think the first week on APTN Lumi is for free, so you can binge watch the show if you want. And if you're down in the States, you could always, get NordVPN and watch it from Canada too, just so you know. But, the journey to become the person I am today, as it changes so much throughout my life, I'm sure it changes throughout everybody's life as we go. Each new experience moves you along in the journey of life. And I do believe that we all have a purpose for being here. And, long before we come into the world, I mean, we live in a soul group. You can call it your soul tribe, whatever you wish to call it. And I feel like we all make plans about who and how we're going to affect each other's lives, and what roles we're going to play, etc. And choosing to come into physical life and live this life that we're living now, because again, we're spirit having a human experience. That pick my mom and dad. I mean, do I remember? Does any of us really remember what we've signed up for? Probably, most likely not. We all have to make a journey home to spirit again, because that's our home. We have to go home. We can't stay here. I mean, it seems like a really great place to stay, but man, the older I get and the more frail my body becomes, I realize that, man, I can't stay in this body forever. It's just breaking down. And there's no one.
Yeah, I know. You hit that spot, right? Like they're going, if you want to come now, it's okay.
I'm ready for a new body at some point. Yeah, this one's not going to last that long. Like, hopefully it lasts like till I'm 80, but we'll see. I mean, that's up in the Creator's hands. But we all have a journey to go through life and fulfill our purpose. And my dad's purpose was to live the life that he had, but to leave at such a young age. And everybody that we lose in our life have fulfilled their purpose. But I also feel that we live many lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody judging us except ourselves based on our ability to meet the mark of life. And so nobody's in a big rush. As there's no time over there, nobody's going, oh my God, I better get back. I only have a bit of time. It's like, man, we got forever.
Mm-hmm. So, Sean, do you think there's an over there, or if it's just beside us?
It's both. It's both. It's everything. It's not one or the other. It's everything. The light way, the light is. Light beings, we come from light, we return to light. Light is everywhere. There's no place that light is not. Love and light are very synonymous as well. And, so when she says the light is, she says it with a very strong conviction, meaning there's no place the light is not. Mm-hmm. If you're open to it, if you're aware of it, if you invite it, if it's part of your life. And so is there a here and there? It's both. There is a here and there. But it's also everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And all the time.
All the time. There's no place that it isn't, just like love. It's this unconditional love. Love is. There is no, our Creator doesn't look at anyone any differently for no matter what they do. Even the earthbound spirits have made some bad choices sometimes. There's no, condemning Creator that is over there going, well, you've done this, you are not coming home. Mm-hmm. You're staying earthbound, and this is your hell, or whatever it may be. There is no hell. There's the hell that we created for our lives in physical world, mm-hmm. but the hell we create even in spirit world. which is different levels of energy. And we can even exist even in our own physical lives on different levels of energy, of higher level energy or lower level energy. And even in spirit, we can create that. As we are creators each and every day, like I said, we create our life each and every day with purpose and intention in our thoughts, with our heart, hopefully. And then even in spirit, you can create a reality where we can be absent of light or we choose not to see it. That doesn't mean it's not there. Mm-hmm. And it's really a shift of perspective for people or for earthbound spirits, and maybe helping them see the light within themselves. Because it's not out here that they have to find it. It's in here that they have to find it. Mm-hmm. And when they discover that the light has always been there, the light is like, it just opens up everywhere else around you. And there's very, like, depending on the stories and the messages that come through, and I believe spirit is like infinitely intelligent, that they know if I give this message here, it'll reach these 3 people. If I give this message here, it'll reach those 4 people. And I just do my thing. And I do what I do. I help heal people's hearts via the connection to spirit, because that's what spirit connection is about. Mm-hmm. That's what spirit communication is about helping people heal, to live their life connected, and a more healed, connected life. Yes. So they're not grieving or struggling or fighting something that they've been carrying in relation to the loss of somebody. And everybody is carrying something in regards to a loss, typically. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. And when I connect to people and spirit gives me messages, they often take me to the pain points. The thing that they're carrying, the thing that's bothering them the most, the thing that is they're struggling with the most. And why do they do that? Because they're not up there in spirit or around us in spirit going, oh my God, I'm so happy she's grieving. I'm so happy that she's struggling. That's not what they want. They want you to live connected and to know that they're with you. So they will go to the pain point, help heal that pain point by talking about it, giving you a new perspective of looking at it, and then validate different ways that they're still part of your life. Mm. Then they may say the strangest things, like, you know what? They'll tell me about the freezer that's broken or the door handle that we're working on yesterday, because they were there.
And they know we need that validation, right, to know, exactly.
Right? And they love to tell me things that no one is possibly able to know. Mm-hmm. Because the only way I could know is if I was personally there or spirit was really there. And they tell me the most minutest things is just kind of like out there. It's just funny. There's a language, hence the book titled The Language of Spirit, right? There's a language that spirit can and does use to communicate to people like myself, yourself, and other people. And there's fancy words like clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, claircognizance, clairalience, clairambience. There's a lot of words that people don't understand, but it's really just inner seeing, inner feeling, inner hearing, inner tasting, inner knowing that is coming through from spirit that communicate in a way to people like me that is going on internal of myself through my thoughts and my awareness, my perceptions. And it's really easy for me to now distinguish between, what's my thoughts and a thought that's being given to me, because they will show me those things that should be nowhere in my mind. I don't mean you any disrespect. I don't mean your daughter any disrespect, but I have to trust what they show me means something, because I know this is not in random thought in my head. This is very detailed image that I just saw. I'm going to say, so because then they know.
Thinking the worst thing that's going to happen to me is I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's probably the greatest thing that's going to happen to any one of us, is that we will die. We may not look at that because we value our life and the purpose of reason why we're here. And I think if that wasn't here, we'd be all checking out all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But because we were ingrained with valuing life. And I think that's a big, important part of life. And I'm not saying take your life for granted, because you've come here intentionally. You've come here on purpose. You've come here for a reason. And it's to discover that reason and live it to your fullest. So that when you go home, you feel like that you've accomplished all the work through the karma that you needed to. so that you won't have to work through some of this karma in the future or other lifetimes. Mm-hmm. You know, but definitely try to like talk to spirit and say, hey, make sure you balance all that crap out. I can only take so much here.
Yeah. I need some help. Thanks. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And knowing that they will respond. And especially when you have that faith, when you have that belief that strengthens that connection even greater. It's like it's like there's different levels of energy. There's higher level energy, but it shortens the distance. It shortens the level of energy for which our awareness can go with our belief in our faith system, like in connection to spirit. And that's where I put my heart, is helping people to raise people up to a higher level of energy so they can be where I am. It's really cool to be in this place and have the wisdom that I have. But I like to feel I'm not alone. I like, if we're going to shift the world, we have to change it in a way that brings people up to higher level energy that is connected. And, you know, a lot of, no offense to people who are religious or anything else like that, but religion is failing these days.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There's churches closing left, right, and center. There's no people. It's not speaking to people on the way that it used to. In Mi'kmaq, we have a word called Emsit Nogama, which means all my relations. And every indigenous culture, has a very similar, they have the same word typically. Might be said differently because in their language it's different. But what does that mean? That means we're all family.
Yeah.
But he said, if you can change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Mm-hmm. Same premise, right? Same wisdom in some sense, because I had to change the way I was looking at everybody in life because I was angry with people and I was upset, I was hurt, I took things personally. Why is this happening to me and all this? Well, it's meant to happen to me. That's why. But if we could look at life like in everyone, instead of being angry at people, looking down at people, looking that people are better than us, they're all our family. They're all our brothers and sisters. They really are. We all come from spirit. We're all children of the same source. And that's the same premise. Like, we do not have a bad family. We all have a good family. You got to change the way you look at this stuff. And there was so much, like I said, love and compassion. If I was 2,000 years ago, doing my thing, if I heard that man speak, I probably would have dropped all my shit and followed him too. Because he had that much conviction in words and passion and wisdom and connection. There's no way that when you see that in someone and you feel it from someone that you wouldn't want to be like share that wisdom in your life. So I feel like Creator, has given me this life, as each of us has given our life in this purpose. And that's what I say. I pride myself so much on Spirit Talker Tribe, my course, because what's the purpose of knowing? What if Jesus, just think about this. What if Jesus back in his day knew he could heal people, but didn't teach people how to heal people? Why did he have 12 men and 1 woman following him around? Why? Because he was sharing what he knew. He was sharing his wisdom so that it would carry on through other people, that they too could heal people. And he even said that if you only believe you could do these things and greater. He didn't say, oh, guess what? You better worship down to me and I'm the only guy here in town. So it's not what he said. And the message is lost there. And that's why I feel like churches are closing. And why there's this new spirit that is like evolving through humanity. And that there's new people waking up to a true connection to spirit that is coming from that same mindset of love, kindness, and passion, and is expressing it through me, is expressing it through you, and through many other people. And I'm sure every person that's part of my course, because they wouldn't be there if it wasn't some calling in them that was searching to be able to be expressing that in life in some way. That is inspiration. That is me. That's to break the word down to the finest point, is to be inspired is in spirit. So that is expressing, that's what's expressing, that's your purpose, pushing its way through your life. Let's talk about the psychic language. And I think if I was to start anywhere in regards to psychic language or, what comes through from spirit, etc., I would say, it comes through in many ways. A medium on stage is getting things in a multitude of ways, whether you're watching Teresa Caputo, John Holland, John Edward, or any other amazing great mediums that are out in the world. And there's many. Me personally, and I know there might be some out in the world that say, hey, I'm the greatest or whatever. I think that's ridiculous because, there is no like the greatest person in anything. We just do the best that we can. And one of the things I teach in Spirit Talker Tribe, that ego should not be part of this. I mean, we're all one, we're all from the one space source, no matter what culture, faith, belief you are, we're all equal. We're just doing the best we can in everything that we can. There's people that are good at the things they do, and we can recognize that. But everybody that maybe is starting out or just beginning, you got to give them that, you got to allow them the space to grow and to become this. I mean, Eddie Van Halen didn't start off with a guitar and just play, some of the songs that he plays, or Steve Vai or whoever out there, Stevie Ray Vaughan, some great, incredible guitar players. They started off in the basics, the beginning. They learn the chords, they learn the instrument, they learn how it sounds, and psychic language is a lot like that in some way. It's not really about music, it's about translation, because when it comes from spirit, you have to trust the translation or the information that's coming to you from the spirit world. And through the course, I teach people how to connect, how to receive. I mean, the first part of the Spirit Talker Tribe online course is about, I guess, raising your energetic vibration, because I think it's a huge, important aspect of connecting to spirit is raising your vibration. Because when you raise your vibration of spiritually through your words, your sacred words that you speak to the spirit world, your angels, your guides, your ancestors, through meditation, learning how to create space in your mind to receive, but also like to learn to create space, but also to be mindful. Because if you're busy talking, speaking, doing things all the time and not creating space, it's hard to receive things. That, because the spirit world kind of has to lower their energy vibration down a little bit. And it's like where we meet in the middle. And if you don't listen, or you don't learn how to listen for spirit, it's very hard to receive information. It's like if you're always talking, it's actually very hard to hear someone else speaking to you. So you have to create space and allow space so that when spirit does communicate, that you are listening. And, if you watch any mediums out in the world doing their work, and there's many different formats, and I've seen many over the years, like George Anderson, another really great medium back in the day, and there's also another girl, Alison Dubois from Phoenix, Arizona, I believe she's from. They receive their information a little bit differently, but it's still, they receive the information the same, but it's how they get into that headspace to allow them to receive. A lot of people like scribble, they scribble like on paper. They're like scribbling on paper, but it kind of is like if you're at the sink washing dishes and just doing that, a lot of moms out in the world, a lot of people are doing things where they're thinking about a problem, etc. in life, and they could be doing something monotonous of sorts, like washing dishes. Not that washing dishes is monotonous, it's very much needed in the world. Unless you get a dishwasher, then it's much easier. But there's things you still have to wash, I'm sure. But as you're washing the dishes, you're mindfully there, present, really not thinking too much, just being mindful. And then boom, the idea or the problem, the idea of how to solve the problem pops into your head. Now that's like a problem solving thing. But if you could get in the same headspace, you might find that you were able to get other things like driving your car, etc. I think highway hypnosis is one of those things where you're driving down the road and then things just pop into your mind.
Spirit Talker, Indigenous Stories and Teachings from a Mi'kmaq Psychic Medium. At this time on the earth, folks are desiring reconnection and a return home to self. My medicine helps folks to bridge the earth and spirit realms, wisdom that my ancestors have held since time immemorial. As Indigenous people, there's been so much trauma that has disconnected us from our spirituality and the teachings of the land. Colonialism attempted to strip us of the most sacred connection, our relationship to earth, creation, and the spirit world, was deemed primitive or unholy. So much was broken, and there was so much separation of our innate ways of being. It is rare to see Indigenous people sharing their gifts in this way. Beating, drumming, dancing, yes. Indigenous mediumship, not so much. I felt excited knowing that even though we're from different nations, there was someone from the same culture who was sharing his spirit-led work. I remember feeling a deep resonance with his path as he, too, was one who lived between worlds. Through this incredible gift of life, we all have a purpose and a calling deep within our souls. To be the best we can and to learn unconditional love for ourselves and for others. It is through this love my calling and life's purpose became known. The wisdom and insight I've gained from my experiences have been nothing short of life-changing. In fact, the trajectory of my time on this physical earth has become so clear that it has changed every aspect of how I see reality. It made me realize we are all connected, even after supposed death, to the point that I no longer believe in death. Death is an illusion. We all have been taught in the scientific method that energy cannot be destroyed, but instead it transforms into something else or transfers to somewhere else. Into what or where, however, cannot be explained with the same method. Even with modern science, we do not cease to live when we leave this physical life. Rather, we transform into our true essence, that of spirit, and return to our true home within the light. Looking back, I can see how every experience brought me to the knowledge and understanding I have today. In this book, I share some of these remarkable experiences, which are taken from real life and real people, alive in both the physical and spiritual worlds. If I have not lived to experience them myself, I'm not sure I would truly believe. It is through the process of spirit communication that I was taught a new language, the language of spirit. It is a universal language that transcends all spoken languages on this planet and every planet in the universe. I never took a class in this language. I never took a course on spirituality. Rather, it is something that just revealed itself to me, and I feel as though this was my true calling all my life. Made perhaps as a soul contract before my current incarnation as Sean Leonard. Perhaps I was chosen in this way to help people come to a new understanding of the spiritual world. I have trouble calling this knowledge and understanding a gift, as so many people refer to it. I like to tell people I know another language and that I am a spirit talker. This was real, as that slowly dawned upon me that this thing I never expected was now a big part of my life. I decided to be as open as possible and learn as much as I could. It was a rich time with a lot of new experiences flooding in, some of which took some time getting used to. Felt as though my intuition was increasingly spot on. I would have flashes of insight, instances of just knowing something, only to then have it confirmed. This knowing bled into my work life. I was coming around to the idea that I was a mind reader, someone who could tune into people's energy if they were in the vicinity. Then something happened to radically shift that idea. It felt like a voice separate from my own, as if someone was whispering to me through my mind.
But there's moments where things are so clear you just know, and that's called claircognizance. You just know things, and you don't know how you know, you just know them. You just this information comes to you. And I know that everybody here that is here watching the live session, and well, minus the gambling, of course, but has had moments in your life where something just pops in out of the blue, and you just know, and you don't know how you know. It comes to you. Yes. It's not coming from you. It's like it comes into your awareness.
Yes.
And it's because you're in a state or a mindfulness state where you're open to receive information. And I think we all hear spirit sometimes. I think that sometimes we may think that we're out there, you know, maybe we hear somebody call our name, or maybe I should call mom, or maybe I should, you know, call my friend, or maybe I should check on my son or daughter, there's a little voice that talks to us all. And sometimes it's fairly loud. And when we do hear it, sometimes it's when we're doing things like washing the dishes, driving the car, doing things. And that's why I teach in the course how important it is to listen and how to listen, how to create space. And then I give you tools of how to work those muscles in your brain to not just only sense, but to hear and to see things from the spirit world. Like when I described her combing her hair, and it's because I was in that kind of frame of mind, that mindset where I was open to receive things from the spirit world that I was not seeing with my eyes. She's not standing in front of me, and I'm not looking at somebody with my physical eyes. I'm looking from within my mind, my spirit mind, my actual spirit eyes itself, the spirit of the light that's contained within you, that sacred fire, that sacred light, that orb of light that's within your body, that orb of light that emanates through your chakras and your chakras into the orb of light, which is your aura. And that's something else I teach in the course, is about your chakras and your auras, and raising your energy and bringing your energy up through your chakras and expanding your aura to be more finely tuned to receive things from the spirit world. Because a lot of people don't, it's not just like, and sometimes you'll naturally be psychic, but sometimes you have to kind of get into that space. You have to set intention and mindfully get into the space to receive things. But also when, you sense things, because I sensed this was a lady, Wendy, right? I felt her personality. I felt things about her. When I saw the image of her, I felt her body size, even though I saw it too. I felt her persona. I felt her desperate need to get the message to the person who was her mom that needed to hear that message. And I heard her, not like speaking a bunch of words to me. It was like very, very deliberate, specific words that she said. Wendy was the first one that got my attention, and she's made sure she said it like 3 or 4 times so I would hear it and not ignore it. And then driving the car, Kelly Dawn, and then the clairvoyance of the hair, and knowing that I had to follow through and find out what really this meant. And that's exactly how it all kind of worked out.
And practically, how does the process actually work?
It's actually a very still and quiet process, and it's independent of things like facial expression or body language, although those are obviously very valid forms of expression. Mm. But what it looks like when communicating might seem to be rather boring from the outside. It simply involves sitting quietly and trying to clear my human mind as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And simply using my intention, connecting with the animal or that I want to know more about. And I can just imagine the question and then sit quietly with myself and wait for answers or impressions to come across my mental landscape inwardly. Or I could be, if I'm wanting to convey some information to an animal, I will actually generate mental images to give them very specific suggestions. For example, in the typical obedience sense, one could literally close one's eyes and have a mental image of the dog sitting. And hopefully, if they agree, they would actually do that. Wow. It's independent of vocal commands.
I mean, it's clearly an extraordinary gift. And when did you know, and how did you know you had this gift?
Well, ironically, it's something that we all can do. It's something that is in the very nature of the way that our brains are designed. Right. And all our human ancestors used to do this every day as a matter of course. Mm-hmm. We modern humans tend to get educated out of it or become too busy with, daily life to pay attention to intuition. It's intuitive communication.
Right. Yeah.
So rediscovering it has been a journey of remembering and relearning something that's actually innate. And in my case, it happens to be perhaps a particular match for my passion, which is wildlife and conservation. And because I do it so much, perhaps my muscle is sort of more developed at it. Mm. But I'm really no different. I didn't have a privileged childhood running around in the wilds or have lions as pets or anything unusual. Very ordinary suburban upbringing. And this came about when I was doing my tracking training whilst living in the States and coming across footprints of North American species that I knew nothing about at all, having grown up here. And when my brain completely failed to figure out what animal might have made those tracks,
Yeah.
my intuition stepped in and began to give me brief snippets of information or a mental image of a dog-like face that would turn out to be a coyote. And it was a coyote's tracks.
Wow, that's
So it began to
fascinating.
switch on then. Of course, I thought I was going entirely mad, needed a head doctor.
Yeah, right. As
Yeah,
anyone would. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I researched this entire field and discovered telepathic communication, and then decided to study it with my annual leave days from my day job at the time.
I don't know things, but when you get into the right headspace and you're connecting to people, they'll tell you things sometimes. And whether people believe it or don't believe it or know it or not, I trust what's coming to me. And we all can. And I know people are going to say, well, I can't see in my mind. You absolutely can. If you couldn't see in your mind, you wouldn't remember what your son or daughter looked like. You can remember what your son or daughter or your mom looks like, or your father, or the front of your house. How about your car? Can you imagine where you're sitting in the driver's seat? I bet you, as I say all these things, could you see an eagle flying through the sky if I asked you to in your mind? Hovering above the trees in the mountainside over a river valley. You could probably see, you're not closing your eyes, not really straining your mind to focus, but yet these things I say to you, what about a stop sign or a green light? You could see all these things in your mind. And I'm saying these words, but as I say all of these words and things, I know in your own mind you can see them for a second, maybe even fractions of seconds. Easy. And it's not this really clear, crystal clear image that is popping in your mind that you're like, whoa, okay, this is psychedelic. No, it's like a faint little image that's popped in your mind because I put those images there. But imagine you were talking to people, and this is what happens. If you work these muscles, because they've atrophied, the muscles within your mind have atrophied, your senses have atrophied because you're not using them. Now, many women and even some men are very clairsentient, feel things. You can walk into a room and there's something off. There was an argument. You can feel that somebody doesn't like you and you don't know why, and you think it's silly, but you just know. And, there's this energies. I mean, whether you give that power, that's completely up to you. Everybody is on their own journey. I say accept them whether they like you or not. And, I have a lot of people that is so sad because there's not a lot, but a person now and then is like, this guy's a fraud, or this is a big joke. He's fooling everybody. How do you know? You've not really tried to connect. You've not really done any work yourself to see if actually psychic abilities are really work. And how do you think I do what I do all the time? I just pull it out my arse, I guess, and it just happens to be right sometimes, or most of the time. It's really being open-minded enough and willing enough to try. Not by thinking you have to go see Teresa Caputo or go see myself. That's amazing if you go see people and you receive healing in that way, whether you get a direct reading or not. But sometimes it's just watching the process of how I love going to watch other people just because I love watching how people process information, how people process what they're receiving from spirit and how they work with it, because it helps me understand my abilities greater. And it helps me understand how I can serve people greater, because I might learn something from someone that I see doing something in a certain way that helps me enrich my ability to be more deeply connected to the spirit world. And, we all have these abilities, and it's a willingness and an openness to work on it. So, psychic ability is not thinking that you have to know everything. It's working what comes to you and trusting what comes to you, even if you think you're crazy sometimes. You just work with it. And when you start receiving information, and the more that you start receiving it, the more confident you are about what is coming to you. See, this is when things are happening and people don't understand or they don't realize. And sometimes, no offense to anybody that's been in a live show, there's what I call a deer in headlights effect, because they're hearing me, but it's not registering right away. And sometimes people are thinking about one thing and it's very obviously something else. And sometimes messages are very literal. Literally, it's this. Like I'm speaking figuratively to this girl because I think this is a figurative meaning, letters and postcards, but it's actually literal for this other lady and figurative for her. And then when the other lady comes through, Nanny M talking about the tattoos and the bellflowers and the hummingbird, etc. It was very pertinent and direct for that person. And so, when you're in an audience watching an event, whether you get read or not, you're seeing the process unfold and you're seeing the spirit talk of the psychic medium working with the energy accordingly. And I absolutely love having people witness it because then you see it's possible. Not because, oh, Sean's a super cool, awesome guy that can do this. No, it is possible. Not just for Sean on stage or Teresa Caputo or John Holland or John Edward, whoever out in the world you think is amazing at doing this work. It's possible for you too. Because if I can do it and they can do it, you can do it. And it's really just working and understanding. It's perspective. And it's instead of thinking that you don't have the power, you do have the power because you are spirit. You have all these abilities within you. It's just learning about them, understanding and working with them if you choose. And again, not everybody has to be a famous TV show, psychic medium, writing books up on stage. It could be just sitting with friends, giving messages one day, or what have you. And I know there's lots of girls that get around and read cards for each other. It's something that brings them joy, and they love tuning in and guiding people, etc. It's still, if you could have a deeper grasp and understanding of how this process works, how the psychic language works, and understanding that, it's going to enrich your life. And whatever you do in life, your intuition, and I like to say intuition, it's like a school thing. Tuition, in inner schooling. Intuition is inner schooling, learning about your psychic abilities. That's really what this is. And, and Derek Gilby says, I see orbs all the time. The more spiritual you become, the more engaged you become with spirit, the more things start happening in your life. And then at some point, there is like no doubt. There is no more doubt.
Just know.
If